donga, jaja gita jenga. Dong gita 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 donga, jaja
Ingelise, when was the first time you heard about Mr. Anger?
The first time I even heard about him, I must have been maybe 32, 33 years old. And the teacher was saying, we must all try and study with Mr. Iyengar. He's very famous. And I said, who's Mr. Iyengar? I've never heard about him. And then a couple of 3 years later, maybe, I studied with him in San Francisco, where I was invited down, allowed in for the seminar. And that was the most exciting moment. We were standing in a packed room, and Mr. Iyengar, sir in those days, not Gurji yet, came into the room and walked around, and the next thing I felt being pulled by my arm a couple of feet over, and his voice, "Can't you stand here?" And that was my first introduction, and I thought, this is going to be good. I was very happy with that. So that was the first time, and a few years later, in 1977, I went to Pune for the first time. And that was an experience beyond anything I can even remember to tell everything about. The first thing in class, we were sitting in cross-legged, and Mary Dunn was called up to the stage, and I was sitting, said, "You, go up." So I sat next to her. And of course, Mary Dunn was the sweetest thing on earth, right? And Gurji said, "See how she's sitting? And see this one, that was me. She knows nothing." And I looked over and I thought I was just sitting cross-legged, but I mean, that was my first introduction. And I thought, this is going to be great. And I learned later that I was so keen to learn already then that I didn't know, no matter what I had to go through, as long as I could learn. And learn I certainly did. At the end of those, I must say also, my shoulder stand. Shoulder stand was a very difficult post for me, and Gurji worked with me tirelessly, setting me up in different ways. Does this work? Now is it better? So I learned his compassion together with his firmness and his intensity. He could be, within 1 second to another, he could be very intense, as we all know, and the next moment you were melting with his caring for you. At the end of that first 3-week seminar, a few of us were flying out the next day, and we were allowed to take his class in Mumbai, which was up on the 4th floor, where he would go down every weekend and teach his students from Mumbai. And we came in, and I stood and watched the class set up, and he started the class and turned around and said, Are you going to take the class, or are you going to stay there? I said I didn't know what to do. He went, do. And those words have since been ringing in my ear, do. So that was amazing. At the end of the class, I was asked to go into a back room and be put on a Setubanda bench. All by myself there, and I was left there for maybe about 10 minutes. I guess he saw I must have been tired, I'm not sure why. But after class, he would come in and stand over me, like he did, like he would do with a smile. And I said, I don't want to go home. And I heard myself say that. I had a husband and small children at home. It's not that I didn't want to go home, but at the moment, it was so rich in me what I had learned in the first 3 weeks. And he said to me, you must go home now, but you must come back.
And how many times did you go back?
I had been to Pune a total of 10 times.
Wow. Is there one story that stands out for you, one moment in time that stands out for you, other than that moment?
Well, one of the moments, again, when he wrote in my book an acknowledgement after a class, I asked, would you please write in my book, sir? And he did. And he said, Niece, I'm so tired now, I can't even write my own name. And when I came back to the hotel, he had written a worthy book to a worthy student. And that was enough. I knew I had found my teacher for life, and that has certainly turned out to be very, very true. And I knew from him, if it's possible to learn, challenge it. don't shy away and think it's too hard for me, and I will maybe learn that in 20 years from now. He said, start studying progressively, get into the understanding of how to build up. Where's your body at now, and how do you build up further to refine the pose? And he would say, knowledge is, what I teach you, knowledge is like a river. It flows everywhere. So there are so many, many moments, but I knew that I had come to the right place, and that this was where I could learn immensely wonderful things, which has proven through. I went, the last visit I was there, I came in and I said, may I sit, Guruji? And he said, yes, sit. And he could be like a little boy also, a child, how are you doing, you know? And I said to him, Guruji, I have to tell you something. I have 3 gurus. And he went a little bit, just the briefest moment. And I said, my father, my mother, and you. And we both laughed. And he said, hello, welcome, welcome. Many moments stand out, but brief moments when I was there, several of them. But if I put it all together, the wholeness of all the years and times with him has enriched my life. Of course, my yogic practice and my teaching, but my entire life, who I am, the confidence I have received from him, the feeling of trusting myself in my teaching. So it happens frequently now that I will be teaching something and hear myself say something pertaining to the asana the students are in, and it's deep and lovely, and I think to myself, gee, that sounded good, as if as I said it, I hear it for the first time myself. So that is the confident and the deep gratitude I have for this man. I miss him every day of my life, no matter what I engage in life. His strength and his own life too, because we know, all of us, how hard his first years was as a child and as a young man, working his way through yoga and teaching himself basically, that he knows hard work, he knows defeat, I'm sure, he knows fear and hesitation, and through it all he became the world's most renowned and devoted and respected teacher of yoga, and he is self-taught. So there's always the feeling, is Guruji could do it under worse, more difficult circumstances that I've ever had, you can do it too. So that is the wholeness of it that melts my heart, and at the same time strengthens everything I am in life. So yes, I miss him.
You were a big part of the certification process in Canada. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. When we teachers in Canada were asked to certify Canada, he said, this is a great responsibility, you will do this, and we did. We worked together like a team, those handful of us. Referred to Guruji all the time, and the blessing, of course, was that we said to each other, we are doing this work for Guruji. It's his work, we must honor, and we truly see and agree that a candidate should not yet be offered a certificate. We would do it even if it was breaking our hearts. It's very, very hard. But we used to think back, this is Guruji's work, it's not my work. It's not our work, it's Guruji's work, and he's principal. He said, I entrust you with this. So it became an immense learning, and of course when we could offer somebody a certificate and help them along the way, and we all still are, it was a fulfillment that I think none of us could ever really have dreamt of. The learning on that level has again given me an extreme purpose in both teacher training and in working into people with difficulties and knowing how to do a more gentle class, or all his yoga is gentle. Even the toughest class is still gentle. Otherwise, it's abuse, and that's not what he's teaching. But when people have an ailment, to then go back and remember what you have learned from this amazing man and apply it, that learning is ongoing, never stops.
Can you give us a story about your pranayama experience with him in India?
Yes, I could. Yes, I can actually give you quite an interesting story. That was my very first pranayama class, and we were doing sitting. We were not really doing pranayama yet. We would talk deep inhalation, deep exhalation. And at one point, quite soon, my body began to shake, shake. And I heard talk about me and so on, and somebody came and placed me down in a gentle, over a bolster, and the shaking subsided. The class finished, and I got up, and nobody came over and said, "Are you all right?" That's not what they do. They knew I was all right. And what I learned had happened was that probably too much pranic energy I had taken in, and I was emotionally not in a strong place, difficult time in my life. So that was my first experience with pranayama, and I have since come to know, I don't know how a day goes by without my pranayama. I simply would not know how to survive without it. So the pranayama, the asana practice, the teaching, every single morning I open the Yoga Sutras randomly at any page, and I'll open it, beginning of the book, middle, front. I'll point to there and I'll read that, and I'll make that my guide for the day in my own life and in my teaching life.
How did you feel that morning when you found out that Mr. Iyengar had passed?
Numb at first. I knew he was not well, but still. There's a stillness that comes, which happens when you learn, Guruji, you will never see him again. I was planning on going out and had made plans to go out one more time, and I felt I had to wait. Right now I couldn't go without Guruji. It was Guruji being there. It's a stillness that cannot find any words. Everything stops. And of course then after that, immediately more things come to mind for yourself and in your teaching, because what he taught becomes yet more precious.
If you could say one thing to him, what would it be? It would be this. Guruji, my parents gave me life. You gave me me. Oh, thank you, Ingelise, for sharing this time with us and giving us this insight into Mr. Iyengar.
Thank you, Eileen.
Jaja Gita Jenga, Dong Gita Donga, 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 Jaja Gita Jenga, Dong Gita Donga.